In this episode of our Young Innovator series, we'll speak with Nathan Corr. Nathan is a future trainee solicitor at Addleshaw Goddard, who founded the University of Aberdeen Legal Tech Society and has engaged in many other activities relating to legal tech. So thank you for joining us, and congratulations on securing your training contract.
Awesome, thanks for having me, Ronnie. Excited to be on the first podcast, it's great.
Fantastic. So to kick off this episode, could you delve into some of the work you've done relating to legal tech?
Yeah, so legal tech journey kind of started back in October time. That was when I was first sort of applying for all these summer vacation schemes and placements and stuff like that. And a lot of the questions were, how is AI going to change law? Why is legal tech important? What do you need to know as a future solicitor about legal tech? And it was all these tech-focused questions. I was thinking, okay, cool, let's do some Google, find out what all these things are about. Googled all about legal tech and was like, okay, pretty interesting. This is going to be my future, the future of law, give me my career. Should really know about it. And then started asking my classmates, like, okay, what do you think about AI in the law? Like, is it going to come and take all of our jobs, or is it going to help us? Like, how do you think it's going to impact? And then everyone just kind of looked at me like, what? And at that point, it was like, okay, we need to know about this. If it's going to be what our careers are kind of based on in a large part in the future, we kind of need to know about it today. And I was going to speak to the law school about it and saying, like, are we doing anything with legal tech? Is it going to be a course soon? Like, are we going to be learning it formally as part of our degree? And they're like, yep, it is coming, but it takes quite a while for us to get new courses out and develop them. So I was like, okay, what can we do today? Because by the time we had all legal tech courses, I'd have graduated, and so would all my classmates. And we're like, okay, we're going to miss out on all these new courses, and it's still going to impact our future. So at that point, we're like, right, what can we do? We can organize a talk, something like that. We'll get some legal tech professionals in, talk to all the students about what legal tech is, what we need to know. Great. And that's where the Legal Tech Society came from. It was us trying to do something to help educate other law students about legal tech before the law school could kind of catch up and have formal courses as part of our degree.
Awesome. I was actually going to ask about how you found your passion. I touched on that there. So you found that there's a lot of students who are interested in legal tech. Is it quite a popular thing, do you think?
Yeah, I think increasingly students are becoming more interested. Kind of two main reasons for that. One is the reason why a lot of law students pick up on interests in law anyway, which is you see that application for a training contract or a vacation scheme, and there's questions about commercial awareness or commercial law or legal tech, and then you go and become obsessed with commercial awareness and legal tech and all these things, thinking, right, this is what I need for this application form. I'll learn all I can about it and go that way. But also I think technology kind of connects with students anyway. I think we've all kind of grown up with technology, whether it's something as simple as like using a smartphone or just growing up in school with Microsoft Word and Excel and stuff like that. We're kind of used to using tech all the time. So as soon as you introduce like, okay, here's legal tech, it's basically just tech that lawyers use, students kind of pick up on it and go, yeah, tech, this is great. This can help me do my work. Awesome. So I think those are the two sort of things that we found have made students most sort of interested in legal tech.
Yeah, and in terms of developing your knowledge of legal tech, have you found that there are any particularly useful sources, any articles, any books, any YouTube videos?
Yeah, there's loads. There's legal tech things popping up all over the place online nowadays. It seems like everyone's got their own article and blog and podcast, and it's all you can find just about anything online related to law and legal tech now. I'd say ones that stand out is Artificial Lawyer. It's a magazine you can also find on their website. They do lots of articles, loads per week. Lawtomated is a really good one to follow on Twitter. They've also got a website, but their tweets are quite informative. I'd say have a scour of LinkedIn as well. If you search hashtag legal tech, you'll find 100 different places you can find resources from. And also, it's good to follow people as well as the sort of magazines and publications. So for example, Sam Moore, who's helped me a lot with legal tech in the past, follow him on LinkedIn and Twitter. He's constantly posting about legal tech, new updates and developments. So find sort of people in law and legal tech that are really interesting and posting about these things. And, if they see an article they find interesting because they're a professional in their field and they kind of read it and think, yeah, this is good, they'll repost it and you get the benefit of knowing it's a good article to read without having to go and spend hours and hours on Google trying to figure out what's good and what's not. So yeah, top tip would probably find thought leaders in legal tech, follow them and read the articles that they post.
Fantastic. I think that's a great point to follow
Cool.
leaders in the field. But if I remember correctly, you co-wrote an article about should law students learn to code. So how did
Yes.
that come about?
Yeah, so that was a kind of question I was wondering. There's a rise of platforms called no-code platforms now, where similar to if you want to go and build a website, few people nowadays will actually go and code their own website. A lot of the times it's Wix or a Squarespace. It's this graphic design tool where you can move around boxes and like enter text and design it very visually. And now you're getting the same sort of things for legal tech. You're getting these tools that you don't necessarily need to go in and learn a programming language and then program your own applications. You can just go in and use these no-code platforms. So I was kind of interested in that, thinking, okay, my inherent response to going, legal tech, law, technology, I should learn to code. This is just makes sense. And then I researched more into it and I was like, well, actually, I might not have to learn to code. It might be better to learn how to use some of these tools and do it that way. So that article came from asking Sam Moore, who's the innovation manager at Burness Paull and Scotland's first legal technologist, and Sam Spivak from Brighter, who's their UK managing director. And Brighter is a no-code platform. And so I thought, right, it'd be great to see what Sam from Burness Paull's perspective on it is. Is his background also in computing science as well? And does he think that law students learn to code, or is he on the side of like no code platforms or learning more of the basics? And the outcome of the article really was that learn the basics of just computing and like technology in general. You don't necessarily need to go and become a Python master or anything, but if you can understand some of the basics, it will help you talk to the people who will know how to code. So, as a lawyer in the future, it's unlikely the firms are going to be spending loads of money paying you to code because you're a lawyer, you're paid to do the legal side of things. They'll pay someone else who's spent their whole university education learning coding and studying computing science. So the value that you can provide is being able to talk to that individual who can do the development and can do the coding in a really succinct way. And if you know the kind of basics, you'll be able to convey exactly what you need them to code in a much better way.
Fantastic. And you're clearly very interested and knowledgeable about technology and tech. So why did you choose to go into legal tech and not into just purely technological industry?
I think it's kind of, it wasn't as much of a decision where at some point I was like, yes, this is exactly what I'm going to do and I'm just going to go down this. It was more kind of just, I was following what I was interested in at uni, and legal tech was part of that. Like I went to uni to study law because I wanted to kind of keep my options open, and law was a degree that I could keep options open with. And the more I got into my studies, the more I became interested in it. But I'd always been interested in, right, what's the forefront of what humanity is doing? What's the forefront of X industry? And for law, that was legal tech. It was the thing that was, I don't like using revolutionizing as much because having done loads of research into legal tech, I've found it's not necessarily a revolution. Like technology and law has been happening since like email first came out. It's not all of a sudden we're using AI like on everything and it's changing everyone's worlds. There's a few AI tools that are really cool and they have made big differences, but it's more sort of been a gradual, as technologies developed, lawyers have picked up as well. But that's kind of why I kind of gravitated towards legal tech. It was what was the forefront of the legal profession at the time, and it's just kind of something that found something a little bit interesting, started talking to more people about it, and it kind of just grew and grew to what it is now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have this idea of legal tech being, a future industry. But in terms of where it is right now, do you think it occupies a large space in the legal industry?
Um, it's interesting because to answer that, you kind of need to go back to like what legal tech actually is, and the really broad definition of legal tech is just any technology used by lawyers. And taking that definition, like I say, email is technically legal tech, but no one really considers it as legal tech. It's kind of just, oh, that's just technology in general. Everyone uses it. And I think a more narrow definition of legal tech is kind of it's technology designed for lawyers. So something that didn't exist before, but has been designed specifically for lawyers to use. And I think depending on what definition you take depends on how big part of the industry it kind of takes up. I think most people tend to gravitate towards the tech designed for lawyers. And I think that's definitely a growing area. Because before it was more the broad definition of, okay, lawyers are now using email, lawyers are now using like word processors instead of just writing things down and using fax machines, all that sort of stuff. And now, as we're kind of seeing more companies set up to design specific tech tools for lawyers, I think that's the area of the industry that's growing and growing and growing.
And you referenced earlier the idea that a lot of people may think automation may quote unquote steal our jobs. So what do you think of this idea?
No, I think again, it's like I, I think it depends what jobs you're kind of looking at when you think about that, because traditionally, like paralegals and legal secretaries have been doing a lot of the sort of the filing work or kind of reviewing sort of basic documents and kind of organizing things for then lawyers to go and solve the legal problems on. And I think technology is kind of coming in and like taking a lot of those tasks from sort of paralegals and legal secretaries. I don't necessarily think that means that you're just going to see paralegals and legal secretaries just disappear. I think their roles are going to change as technology changes. And in terms of lawyers themselves, I don't think technology is going to take lawyers' jobs for a very, very long time. And also, like thinking about this as well, it's kind of reminding me of the question that Richard Susskind keeps going back to. Like he used to ask, what will lawyers be doing in the future? And now he's asking, how will legal services be provided in the future? It's not necessarily like in 10, 15, 20 years time, you're going to be going to a lawyer with your legal problems and be like, please help, what do I do? It could be the case that you go and you talk to a chatbot for something really simple. And then the really complex legal matters, those are the things that kind of get saved for the lawyers. So I think the law's changing, but it's not going to be like an overnight, all of a sudden a new amazing AI comes out and just all the legal jobs are gone. I think it's going to be a gradual process of changing how legal services are delivered, not necessarily everyone just losing their jobs to technology.
Awesome. And the way you described working in the legal tech industry is as improving the way that lawyers can use technology to enhance their work. And this makes it seem like it'd be a good job for a solicitor. But do you think for somebody who wants to be an advocate in Scotland or barrister in England, there's a place for legal tech that they can go to?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was last semester when everything was still open and people could come to the uni. There was a few advocates that came to the uni and they were telling us about how they go about their work nowadays. And they were saying that everyone shows up with iPads now. It's no longer a big, like, massive court bundles and you've got hundreds of bits of paper and the judges to flick between them. It's just everyone shows up with an iPad and everything's online and you can just search for the page number you want. So I think despite advocates and barristers tending to have a more sort of traditional working style, technology is still coming in and impacting that side of the profession as well, and I think it will continue to do so. And barristers and advocates also spend loads of time reviewing documents and putting together the court bundles, and also just working on cases in general. You've got Clio case management system nowadays that loads of different firms use for managing their caseloads. You've got lots of like hundreds, if not thousands, of document automation and review and everything that you stick AI onto it and be like, look, use this for your documents. And some you can and they're really good, others are just AI for the sake of it. But yeah, I think you're getting more and more technologies that can be used by all sides of the profession nowadays, not just kind of corporate and commercial. It's also impacting advocates and barristers.
That's great. And you discussed that legal tech can benefit advocates in Scotland and barristers in England. But for those who actually want to work in the legal tech industry, do you think that there will be jobs in legal tech for barristers and advocates in Scotland?
Um, it would definitely be a more interesting career change if you were an advocate or a barrister wanting to move into legal tech. But I think definitely for the companies that are working to develop tools specifically for advocates and barristers, that would definitely be a good market to move into, having that sort of background experience as a barrister or an advocate. But yeah, it's something that legal tech tends to be kind of looked at through corporate and commercial and sort of that side of the law. But I think there's definitely opportunity for the court system to be impacted by technology as well. Like Richard Suskind's latest book on online courts and the future of justice is a good example of that. And I think if you're an advocate or a barrister interested in the impact of technology and is maybe wanting to move more into legal tech, maybe trying to find companies or even starting your own company that's working towards the whole online courts and the future of justice, that side of things, could be a really interesting career move.
I think that was a very interesting point about the fact that online courts may have a role in the future. But just to bring it back to the Legal Tech Society and your role within it, So you founded it around October time in 2019, if I'm correct in saying that.
Yep.
What do you actually envision for your society in terms of events, online content, etc.?
Initially, when we were getting going, it was kind of all about one event that we had in mind, and it was a case of bringing together a couple of different law firms and Law Society of Scotland and kind of teaching students the basics of legal tech. For that event, we had Bernice Paul, we had Thornton's Law, and we had the Law Society of Scotland. And we want to get three different perspectives. So, okay, how do different law firms use legal tech in a different way? And how is the Law Society of Scotland looking at the future of education? And, are they going to start asking law schools, like, okay, are you going to be teaching legal tech? Here are the sorts of things that we want you to kind of focus on. Because ultimately, law schools devise the courses that they want to teach, but the Law Society of Scotland sets the sort of criteria for what needs to be taught. So we wanted to see, what's the Law Society doing as well. So that was our initial vision for this society. It wasn't this whole grand, like have a bunch of articles and podcasts and like outreach and resources and anything like that. It was just purely, can we have some sort of event where students can learn more about legal tech? The event was great. Really good responses from everyone who came. We had some lecturers there as well from the university who really liked it and wanted to see more. So we had another event with Addleshaw Goddard as well, and that was a big sort of hired out King's Conference Centre at the university and had a nice sort of drinks reception afterwards and got to speak to the trainees and associates and the legal technologists and made that more of a big grand event that students could come along and meet more people in legal tech and really learn more about it. For the future of the society, we're looking more into a sort of online presence as well, having more resources and articles and places that not just students at the University of Aberdeen can go to find out more, but further afield as well. And I think with everything happening right now with COVID and everything going online, I think it's the right sort of time to do it, not just for the students at our university, but students all over.
I think it's great that you've set up the society and that you've provided a service that wasn't previously being fulfilled. But in terms of actually setting up the society, did you find any challenges that you had to overcome at an organisational level?
At organizational level, we were really lucky actually because initially having the idea and speaking to my classmates about it, being like, okay, what do you think about legal tech and AI and all this stuff? The classmates I was speaking to were really interested. And sort of to set up a society at uni, you need 10 signatures from your sort of like classmates or 10 people that you just want to see it as a society. And then HAUSA goes and looks at it and sees if it can be a thing or not. And lucky enough, in our friend group at uni, we had 10 people who were all kind of working together on our group projects or going on nights out in town. And we're all kind of coming together thinking, we could do this, we could make it a thing. So went to the library one day and just kind of rambled on for an hour and a half to everyone. And we kind of came up with the idea for the society, how we would do it. So we were really lucky in the beginning having a sort of friendship group that we can kind of come together and work on something. So yeah, I think challenges we kind of overcame didn't really come until later on when we're actually putting together events and trying to organize sort of times that worked with speakers. And as soon as you try and put on any event, you're inevitably going to run into issues. But I think we were really lucky for an organizational level, having a good friendship group to kind of set it up from the get-go.
And COVID has played a role, as you said, in your society. So, taking into account that COVID might mean that there may be a less area to have in-person events. What are your plans for the future of the society?
Yeah, so like I say, we're going to do more sort of online things, whether it's resources or articles, podcasts, that sort of thing, and also online events as well. So as much as we may not be able to have as much in-person events with our members, it does mean that going online we'll be able to reach a lot more people. So I know that there's a legal tech society down at the University of Edinburgh, but other than that, it's just Aberdeen and Edinburgh at the moment. So hopefully we'll be able to reach Glasgow and Dundee and more universities in Scotland so that more Scottish students can learn about legal tech, and then further afield as well, going to the rest of the UK and even globally.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Aberdeen and Edinburgh, the only ones in Scotland. What advice would you give for anybody thinking of setting up a legal tech society at the university from the experience you've had?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good time to do it. I think a lot of universities and law students will benefit from having a place on campus they can go and learn directly about legal tech. If you're listening to this and you're at a university that doesn't currently have Legal Tech Society, check out the University of Aberdeen Legal Tech Society website, reach out to myself as well. I'm more than happy to hop on a call or give you loads of different advice and help you kind of guide you through setting one up. I can kind of share the experience of us setting it up and give you tips that way. I'd say the most important thing is just to kind of start. Don't overthink it, or don't be like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, or I should do this, or like, could I do this? Like, if you're sitting there doubting, thinking, maybe I'm not the right person to do it. Like, if you're interested in it, then pursue it. Take the first step, and you'll be amazed with the amount of people that are happy to kind of help. People in the profession especially are so willing to help with their time and energy and just kind of help out students, especially in the legal tech community. It's an amazing legal tech community online and throughout the UK and further afield. Once you kind of get into it and you start speaking to people, you realize that everyone kind of knows each other. And as soon as they see some students trying to do something with legal tech and set something up, they're really keen and eager to help out. So, if you're sitting there thinking, I don't know, should I, shouldn't I, like, take the first step. If you're really interested in it, take the first step, start pursuing it, and you'll be amazed at what happens.
And you mentioned there that there may be a lot of students who are interested in legal tech. So for those students, which law firms in Scotland and in the United Kingdom more broadly do you think they should look at in terms of pursuing a career?
So I think great resource to go to first is the Legal Cheek website. If you go to Legal Cheek, they have their firms most list, and you can filter by category. If you filter by tech, you'll see all the ones that have an A star for technology. That's a great place to start. That was what I was doing when I was sort of first looking at firms to apply to. Was go to Legal Cheek as everyone does and try and filter through all the firms and read the backgrounds, and from there pick the firms of like A star and A, and go through that list and think, okay, see what they're doing with technology. Is that something that connects with you? And then beyond that, it's a case of looking at culture and what they kind of do, what categories they're in, industries, all that sort of stuff that you're interested in.
I think we've discussed a lot of interesting areas of legal tech and your work within legal tech. But before we finish up, where can people find you if they're interested?
Yeah, so you can find me. LinkedIn seems to be the most common place to get contacted. Just Nathan Corr, Aberdeen. You'll probably find me there. Also on Twitter, I think it's @NJCorr_. Can't remember, but I think it's that. But yeah, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. Search me on all the social medias. More than happy to chat to anyone about any questions, or if you're thinking of setting up a legal tech society, get in touch. More than happy to hop on a call and give you tips and put you in contact with speakers and people that have helped us in the past as well.
And if people are interested in joining the Aberdeen University Legal Tech Society, where can they find you?
Yeah, so we've got our website, uoalegaltech.com. We're also on the 𝙬𝙖𝙪 webpage, which is the Aberdeen University Students Association. You can join and become a member there and attend all of our events for the coming year. But yeah, if you follow us on our social media channels, search University of Aberdeen Legal Tech Society on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, you'll find us on all there as well. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you very much for joining, and congratulations on securing the place in Addleshaw Goddard.
Awesome. Thanks very much for having me.